Hello, everyone. EduNext Education 3.0. The journey began somewhere last year and it still continued. The purpose is to, again, take education to the next level. We are taking minor steps, but we are trying our best to do something which may benefit to the entire education sector. So here we have the second virtual discussion of this series, wherein we have the topic as in leadership is action, not position. And we have a lovely guest over here. Let them introduce themselves. We'll be really quick on this one. And here we go. So, hello everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum
Assalamualaikum,
assalam.
Assalamualaikum, Sama. Hello.
Okay, let's begin with the introduction. Sir Bilal, would you like to introduce yourself and say something about the topic?
So my name is Bilal, and I am the founder of the Institute of Learning and Mentorship. It's a non-profit organization currently working to provide the best-in-class, high-quality education to every single person, regardless of their class and regardless of their economic background in Pakistan. And my background is I have a master's in mechanical engineering from the University of Maryland, USA, and I have taught in the past for the Johns Hopkins University and multiple schools in Pakistan as well. I've been running this organization since about 4 or so years now. Prior to that, I had some entrepreneurial experience as well. And now about the topic. Unfortunately, बहुत सारे perspectives इस तरह के हैं कि people have an idea of leadership as being a position that I wanted to be the CEO of organization X, and I want to be the director of organization Y, and that is going to be the uh, change making position I would have. And we have to kill this idea of the leadership that should be viewed as something as a position, and that's name of the seat, and that's name of the chair. And in fact, just what Simon Sinek कहते हैं कि we should be structuring the leadership as if it's something about the role. You don't have to be at any position कि कहीं पर अगर आप बैठें तो ही आप लीडर हैं. In fact, अगर आप अपने घर में भी हैं और अपने दाएं और अपने बाएं वाले का ख्याल रखते हैं, so that also makes you a leader. So it's about the action that you're doing, and it's about the change you are making, and not about the seat and the position you have. So it's a lovely topic. I think it is going to be changing a lot of the perspectives that people had in the past, and I really look forward to participate in the discussion. Mansama, you are muted.
Saima, you're mute.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yes, very rightly said, Sir Bilal, that it's we had this perception of having position as in seat or a chair, and we need to get away with this one. Let's take another guest right now, Miss Salma, please.
Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. एक second, बस मुझे दीजिए. Sorry. As luck would have it, this is when I run out of battery. If you can please connect me. अच्छा जी, so my name is Salma Alam and I'm the CEO of a non-profit organization जिसका नाम दूरबीन है. और हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म गोल जो है वो हम गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स को टॉप एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस बनाना चाहते हैं फॉर पाकिस्तान, जहाँ पे तमाम बच्चों को एक ही मेयार की तालीम मिले, ऊंची मेयार की तालीम मिले. But to get there, we are first starting with reforms in teacher education with the goal of developing top quality professional teachers, for these government schools. और इस मकसद के लिए we initiated a public-private partnership with the government of Sindh. We took over one of the colleges of teacher education in 2019, and mashallah, we've just taken in our third cohort of students, and we are a 4-year degree program. And yes, so even our future plans are related to developing capacity at the teacher education level and then subsequently at the school level. Acha ji, with regards to the topic, yes, I would second Bilal. I think it's a very provocative topic. और खुद ही भी जब पढ़ा तो थोड़ी और वजाहत मांगी कि इसका एग्जैक्टली मानी क्या है. leadership is not a position, it's action. Uh, but it's really true. I think लीडरशिप इन its truest sense एक ओहदे से नहीं आती है, एक टाइटल और एक डेजिग्नेशन से नहीं आती है. A leader is somebody who people look towards. In times of stress, definitely COVID के दौरान जो है, there are certain people in the organization that were able to make tough decisions, that were able to empathize with their team. I mean, I'll talk about more about this, but I think the question really did also make me think about uh, sort of what my position has been over the past 2 years almost now. So I won't give away too much. I think the subsequent conversation will dive into this. But yes, I think maza aega. So thank you. Over to you, Simon, please.
Thank you so much, Salma, for giving a brief introduction of yourself. And yes, somewhat or the other, that all three people are selected on purpose because we see leadership really happening in these three places. So let's take another one over here, Miss Sabina Khatri. Please, Miss Sabina Khatri.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum again. My name is pronounced Sabina Khatri. A lot of times, a lot of people don't pronounce it well. And I happen to be the founder of the Kiran Initiative, which subsequently became Kiran Foundation after 8 years. So it was in an incubation for 8 long years, quietly working in the streets of Liari. That was the time when there was a lot of gang wars over there. It was difficult to go in. And the children, especially the children, were growing up amidst a lot of violence, and it was affecting their behaviors, and they were developing into people, human beings who had a belief on aggression. So, uh, with the aim of actually reversing that cycle, or maybe restoring the belief on love, is what I think I can explain best. Uh, Worked a lot closely with the families of Liari. Happens to be a school, yes. We are a trauma informed school system. I've heard that we are the first ones in Pakistan. I haven't been able to find another one that claims to be a trauma informed school system. However, it's more than a school. We are working very deeply with the families. The entire family comes into the tutelage of education through one child. It's a mother and child education program where the mother has to become a student with the child. That's mandatory in our school. And obviously that brings the biggest change in a household, but because Kiran works through the belief that motherhood is the true leadership. So the topic itself will bring back my own belief very strongly in motherhood. That is where I think is the real true institute, where we learn the ways to make the right choices, because leadership actually is a place of inspiration. And जो आपने टॉपिक रखा है कि लीडरशिप इन नॉट पोजीशन एंड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एक्शन, ये मैंने तो खुद महसूस किया है और ख़ुद इससे मैं गुजरी हूँ. जो आगे हम गुफ्तगू करेंगे तो मैं आपको बताऊँगी कि हाउ आई स्टार्टेड ऑफ एंड हाउ I had to then forcefully, unwillingly, had to become the chairperson of the foundation when the board was formed, and I saw the shift happening within me from a leader to a chairperson position, and it took me a lot of hard work, internal hard work, to stay in the leadership position and not be derailed or carried away by the position called chairperson. So maybe we'll speak about that later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Sabina. And yes, definitely is a hardship and a lot of effort that is behind of all. All the three people that are sitting over here have done a lot in their lives and have reached to a position after a lot of effort, wherein again there's a lot of action rather than just a position. So let's begin with the very initial perception of how do we see leaders. What is leader, and particularly in the field of education, how do we see leaders? Anybody who wants to take the lead?
Do we need to wait for each other? I mean, like for me, leadership as a whole is a place of, um, it's a place of role modeling. That's what leadership is. For me, it's not about giving orders, it's not about giving directions, it's about actually role modeling the process. एंड वो कहते हैं ना कि आप रोल मॉडल करते रहें, आप ऑथेंटिसिटी के साथ, सिंसियरिटी के साथ, पैशन के साथ, और जब अपना काम कर रहे होते हैं और अचानक आप सर उठा के पीछे देखते हैं तो एक कारवां आपके साथ चल रहा होता है और आपको पता ही नहीं चलता कि ये क्या हुआ, व्हाई आर पीपल फॉलोइंग मी, व्हाट डिड आई डू? And you come to know later that they were only following your genuinity, you know. They want to be there with you in whatever you want. They want to know, they want to ask questions. What is it that you're doing? What drives you? What is your goal? What is your mission? They keep asking you. And I realized this when a position came into my life, that I went from the role modeling position, quietly role modeling, to directing, making structures, making processes, taking accountability from the team, and I hate it. I'm telling you, I don't like that position at all. It is a position, it's not leadership at all. These are two different things: managing, being a manager, and being a leader.
I think Salma already has something to add to this.
Look, I can only really feel Sabina ji's pain, because it is that I think the management side of it, I think it really it empties you out sometimes. आप बिल्कुल आपको drain कर देता है. Almost, I can't say it detracts you from the core goal of the organization, because it is also an essential piece. But I can kind of feel the strain that she's talking about. बिल्कुल है, it's very real. मैं इन्हीं की बात आगे ले जाऊंगी. I think that role modeling piece is absolutely essential. I think before you can demand excellence of anybody, you have to first embody that. Um, that commitment to detail, that dedication, that unflinching dedication. Okay, whatever it takes, we will get this done. Otherwise, you don't have that authority to ask that of someone else. So that is a very essential, I think, starting point of leadership. दो तीन और जो मैं इसमें चीज़ें ऐड करूँगी ना. One, as it pertains to COVID, I know it's a question that Saima, you may come to a bit later on, but I feel that because I think my trajectory in as a leader or as a CEO, they don't have to mean the same thing as per the topic of today's discussion. But as CEO is very short-lived. We started the organization in 2019, and we were just 6 months old when COVID hit. So I feel so much of the reflections about leadership were born in response to COVID and coping with COVID. But it has taught me 2-3 important things which I will share, and maybe I'll leave one for your question later on in today's panel. एक जो है ना वो मैं कहूँगी is adaptation. I think that has been a particularly struggle for me, because I'm a very meticulous planner, and I think that is what drives me crazy also, Sabina. I think वो बारीकी में घुस के जो एक चीज़ को plan करना ना, अपने आप को या पागल करते हैं कि perfection लाना है इसमें. But आप plan करते हैं और 2 दिन बाद it's an irrelevant plan, because the situation is so fast changing. So I think really thinking on your toes, and most importantly, never communicating stress to your team. Right? To your team, you must always come across as somebody who's in control, stable, not stressed out. So ये I think एक organizational culture के लिए भी बहुत important है, when they see sort of the person in the steering role as being calm and collected, and never overwhelmed. दूसरी जो चीज़ मैं कहूँगी ना, which is equally important if not more, is leading with empathy. And again, particularly true of COVID times, right? Because और खास तौर पे इस साल में जो कोविड से बच के निकल गए, किसी को अब डेंगू हो गया है, किसी को कुछ हो गया है, किसी के मेंटल ब्रेकडाउन्स हो रहे हैं, किसी का कुछ हो, मतलब it is a time of great struggle really for all families in some shape or form. I was speaking to a colleague how it's almost in the air. You can feel that sickness, that suffering, it's in the air, and I think it's really taken its toll on everyone. So leadership, I think, has also, at least for me, a big strand of it has been about कि अगर चीजें नहीं हो रही हैं as per plan, तो it's more important to take a humanistic approach rather than just think कि भाई ये goals achieve करने हैं, ये टेस्ट से मस्त नहीं होंगे, goals achieve करने हैं. So I think वो starting with empathy and then thinking flexibly of how to get to your objective through various pathways, I think have, at least for me, been the two key takeaways of leadership, especially during COVID. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, with two key takeaways, sir, and the demand of being excellent to be able to role model. Any comment?
मुझे थोड़ा सा वैसे बैक से शुरू करना है. पता है डॉक्टर डोना डेविस जो हैं वो लीडर की बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सी डेफिनेशन देती हैं, लिखती हैं. एंड शी सेज के लीडर इज समबडी हु इज अ ग्लू बिटवीन टू ह्यूमंस. और in general, if you really look at the world right now, we are facing some massive, extremely big problems for which we need people who can bring big solutions. जैसे if you really start counting them in your fingers, तो for example एक कैंसर है, हम दुनिया में से हर 3 लोगों में से किसी एक को उसकी ज़िंदगी में कैंसर हो सकता है. करंटली 2021 के स्टैटिस्टिक्स के मुताबिक रफली हर 1 घंटे में तो तकरीबन 1200 के करीब लोग इस वक्त कैंसर से मर रहे हैं दुनिया में. That's one problem, and then there are so many other problems. Pakistan में मेरा ख्याल है something like more than 30 million children are out of school. जैसे we have we need some people who can solve all these social problems, and not if completely eradicate them, or at least work towards solving those social problems. हमें कुछ ऐसे बहुत काबिल ज़हीन डेडिकेटेड प्रोफेशनल्स चाहिए हैं, लोग चाहिए जो कि ये कमिट कर सकें कि ओके इन माय लाइफ टाइम बिफोर आई एम बरीड इनटू द मड आई विल मेक श्योर के we find a solution to the cancer. And if we can find the solution or the cure for coronavirus within 24 months of it, we are really capable enough of finding the cure of the cancer if we really put some talent together. तो हमें एक ऐसे लीडर्स चाहिए हैं जो कि बहुत सारे ह्यूमन रिसर्चर्स और टैलेंट के बीच में ग्लू का काम करके उनको एक साथ जमा करके और इन सारे बड़े मासिव सोशल प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व कर सकें. I'll be very honest. If you really think about this, some of the big leaders के इस दुनिया के सारे failures और इस दुनिया की सारी frustrations के बावजूद भी we have been able to produce big achievements. So Steve Jobs did build Apple, through which we are still using touch phones, and Elon Musk still is going to this space this year, and hopefully will be landing on Mars in 2024. We did had some of the leaders who achieved something really big by ये सारे वो लोग थे कि जिन्होंने लाखों लोगों के बीच में ग्लू बन के काम करना शुरू किया. And they were able to put all those people together, did everything, provided them everything they could, did whatever it takes, and solve one of those problems जिसके बारे में बात करके लोग हंसते थे. Who did wonder that we will step on Mars by 2024, and it looks like we are almost there now. And who did wonder कि in 1990s के we will have a phone जिसको हम touch करके operate कर सकेंगे, but there were leaders who achieved it. Now we badly need leaders who can put people together, put all the heads together, put all the talented people together, जो कि they don't have to be doctors themselves, but they should have the capability of putting कि वो सारे लाखों लोगों को एक साथ जमा करके इन सारे problems को eradicate कर सकें. 2030 में मैं थोड़ा दिन पहले पढ़ रहा था कि we will even have worse problems के दुनिया में हर 5 या शायद 6 में से किसी एक इंसान को पीने का पानी नहीं मिलेगा. मतलब these are really the problems we are getting into, and 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 in the timeline of the solution what we have is 8, 10, 12 leaders who just have these little aims of being the CEO of a for-profit, or just being the director of a bank in his town. So we really need some people who can think big, who can uh, take a broader enough view. And I also wanted to add here that we don't really need leaders who are just leaders and doing no good to the society. We really need leaders who are caring not about themselves but also about the society, and they're doing something that can help us achieve some of the big goals that we badly need to achieve. Before these big diseases and big issues reach our own homes, we need to find people who can take care of these problems, do whatever it takes, and make sure all these problems are solved in our lifetimes.
So you're changing the perception over to just not being a leader within where you are, rather being a global leader and think globally as to what problems we can solve, maybe on our individual basis, to be able to again be an influential part of the society, or maybe rather I would say somebody who can do something for the society instead at the same
By the
time.
way, ये मैं नहीं कहता I read it some before I take all the credit. I read it somewhere, and one of the things that I read very interesting is the leaders who have an aimed position they want to reach. जैसे कोई ऐसे लीडर हो जिसको लगता हो कि यार I want to be the CEO of let's say Mizan Bank one day, and they think that this is a position I want to get to. The day they become the CEO of the Mizan Bank, they don't know what to do. जिस दिन उन्हें वो पोजीशन जिसकी उन्होंने ड्रीम हासिल किया होता है ना, जब उनको वो मिल जाती है मैक्सिमम, जिसको इंजीनियरिंग में आई थिंक आई कुड बी रॉन्ग लेकिन शायद पॉइंट ऑफ मैक्सिमा कहते हैं, जैसे उन्हें वो मिल जाता है उसके बाद दे डोंट नो व्हाट टू डू आफ्टर दैट. बट द लीडर्स हु हैव सम ऑब्जेक्टिव डाउन द लाइन, जिन्हें ये पता होता है कि हमें फलानी पोजीशन के बाद एक स्पेसिफिक चीज़ को सॉल्व करके एक स्पेसिफिक टारगेट अचीव करना है, दोज आर द लीडर्स दैट आर रियल चेंज मेकर्स. बाकी सब को बाकी सबकी जिसको डॉक्टर अजीम सरवर कहते हैं कि लीडर बनने की जिद पूरी होती है सिर्फ.
Okay, there are three things that I established out of the entire this particular round of the question, wherein we're talking about that we need to be a role model, and to be able to exercise our leadership and at the point of excellence, and maybe in order to add to the excellence we need to be empathizing with the people. We need to be focused on our goals and making sure we're not stressed out in any condition that is coming up. And at the same time, like Sir Bilal mentioned, we need to be having leaders who is able to glue all of them together. Are there any other things that you would like to add as to part of excellence that you need to have it within yourself to be able to role model?
And an
I would like to
objective
add here. Yeah,
objective of the leadership.
sorry.
We are
Yeah.
all excited. Yes, Miss Sabina, and then Mr. Bilal. Okay.
I just feel that there is no such thing as should be. Leader can't be should be. Leadership just is. It happens.
It
It's when
happens.
your decisions, your choices in life are completely aligned to your intuition and to your internal wants and needs. It's not about should be. जहाँ should word आ जाता है वहाँ आ जाता है judgmental environment that you're doing it to please somebody else. Leadership is not something you do for somebody else. Leadership is what you do for yourself. And the people get inspired and they start joining you, and your cause becomes huge. But initially, when you started off, it was your cause. It was something that ached and pained you inside. That's where the leadership comes from. Otherwise, it's always about, I mean, I feel that a leader, honestly, अगर इस तरह आपको समझाऊं कि एक लीडर हमेशा ऐसे स्टेट ऑफ माइंड में रहता है कि व्हाट कैन आई गिव टू दिस वर्ल्ड रादर देन व्हाट कैन आई टेक फ्रॉम दिस वर्ल्ड. उस स्टेट ऑफ माइंड में वो हर वक्त ये फील करता है कि मैं जो भी ये काम कर रहा हूँ इससे मुझे फ़ायदा हो रहा है, लेकिन मेरे साथ बैठे हुए शख्स को, मेरे पड़ोस को, मेरे मेरे रोड पे जो लोग हैं, मेरा जो ख़ानदान है या जो मेरे साथ कम्युनिटी के लोग हैं, उनको इससे क्या फ़ायदा हो रहा है. वो हर वक्त इस स्टेट में रहता है. और लीडर्स यूजुअली व्हेन लीडर्स आर मेड, वो कहते हैं ना लीडर्स आर मेड इन हेवन. Leaders, when they are made during that incubation time, it can be 1 year, it can be 10 years. It takes years to make a leader. उस इंक्यूबेशन टाइम में उनको पता ही नहीं होता उनको देख कौन रहा है. They're so oblivious of what's happening around them. They're so in tuned to their internal feeling. सलमा ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात बोली यहाँ कि लीडर्स को ऐसा होना चाहिए कि वो अपना स्ट्रेस मतलब नुमाया ना कर सकें टीम पे, वरना टीम डीमोटिवेट होती है उनको देख के. ये सिर्फ उस वक्त अचीव हो सकता है जब लीडर जो काम कर रहा हो उसको थारली इंजॉय कर रहा हो. जब वो काम उसके लिए बर्डन बनता है, जब उसको लगता है कि ये काम मुझे इस डेडलाइन को मीट करना है और करना है, और मेरा दिल चाह रहा है कि मैं आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स कोई चीज़ करूँ, मैं रिस्क उठाऊँ, मेरा दिल कर रहा है मैं जंप कर जाऊँ इस कुएं में और मैं ये काम कर जाऊँ, लेकिन मेरे प्रोसेसेस मुझे करने नहीं दे रहे. देयर आर टू मैनी लाइक मुझे पहले कागज़ पे लिख के रिक्विजिशन देनी पड़ेगी, फिर मुझे इजाज़त लेनी पड़ेगी, फिर मैं ये काम कर सकता हूँ. लीडर्स कैन नॉट बी पुट इनसाइड अ बॉक्स. They're the few people in this world who take risks, and they take risks usually, always for them. This it starts with themselves. It's something that aches and pains them. It comes from their life. It's what they discover कि उनका अपना heart किस तरफ resonate कर रहा है, किस cause की तरफ. That they find out only if they are in tuned to their own self. जब तक वो अपने साथ in tuned नहीं होंगे, वो leaders नहीं, वो managers होते हैं. और मैनेजर्स और लीडर्स दोनों बहुत ज़रूरी हैं. लीडर कांट वर्क विदाउट अ मैनेजर एंड मैनेजर नीड्स अ लीडर. हाउएवर लीडर्स मैनेजर्स खुद ब खुद ज्वाइन कर जाते हैं लीडर्स को. लीडर्स आर द वंस हु आर क्रेजी. दे काइंड ऑफ लाइक दे रिस्क, दे टेक रिस्क्स इन लाइफ. उनको अगर आप डब्बे में बंद कर देना तो दे बिकम अनहैप्पी लीडर्स, एंड व्हेन दे आर अनहैप्पी लीडर्स दे विल ऑलवेज बी शेयरिंग देयर स्ट्रेस विद देयर टीम. हैप्पीनेस से तो स्ट्रेस होती ही नहीं है. आप कितना भी काम ले लें, 3 रातें आप जगा लें, आप काम कर लें, बट इफ यू आर एंजॉयिंग इट एंड यू आर लविंग एवरी बिट ऑफ इट, देन देयर इज नो स्ट्रेस. सो आई जस्ट फील कि इंटरनल इंट्यूशन को हम खो देते हैं कहीं जब हम बहुत ही ज़्यादा मैकेनिकल तरीके से काम कर रहे होते हैं, बिकॉज हम बहुत ज़्यादा गोल ओरिएंटेड होते हैं कि हमने उसने ये कर लिया, मैं वहाँ नहीं पहुँची. And we lose connection from inside. It's really important to stay connected. Leaders के लिए, whoever thinks he or she is a leader, and let me say this again one more time, every person has leadership in them. Every human being has it in them. It's just about recognizing it. बस एक काम हमें करना है, दिन का कुछ वक्त अकेले गुजारे, तन्हा, so that you don't lose that intuition. Besides sleeping, I mean, just sitting and thinking in a place under a tree, maybe beside water, in your room, on your rooftop, wherever. But that alone time is a must in a day. Otherwise, you lose that connection. Sorry, I think I went too long.
That's such an interesting, value added suggestion for everyone, because yes, we do sometimes lose on ourselves and we don't spend time with ourselves. And at the same time, it's very true to say that, it's something that comes as in passion for everybody. And I think there are 10,000 reasons of not doing something, but there's only one reason for doing, that is passion. If you have that passion, nothing stops you, whether it be nighttime, daytime, time does not matter, the place does not matter, nothing else matters. I think Sir Bilal wanted to add something to it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think आप बता रही थी कि what are the key points of the leadership, or what are the key features of the leadership. All I'm saying is there has to be one bigger objective down the line that a leader needs to achieve. Okay, so that we don't run into a situation where we have too many leaders but not too many objectives that we need to achieve. So I think every leader has to have an objective to achieve. आप बस ये समझ लें कि एक बेमकसद लीडर जो है ना, वो आई डोंट नो लीडर होता भी है क्या नहीं. So that's the point that I'm understanding.
I think that person is still a leader to a wrong direction, but still a leader.
And I'm sure
Salman.
that these are not the leaders you might want to bring today, or you might want to produce from today's.
That's another story, whether we want them there or not, but they are still the leader. They are still leading you somewhere. Yes, Salma, you want to add something to it? Not really? Okay.
No, Salma, I think it's been covered in a great extent.
Okay.
I would like to say something here.
Yes.
मेरी personal experience में, and the more I talk to people about it, the more I get agreement on it. So लोग शायद इस बारे में बात नहीं करते, मगर मेरी best practices, best training, best examples have come out of leadership, have come out of motherhood. When you become a mother, whether you are a biological mother, whether you're a bigger sister caring for a younger child, whether you're a 6-year-old child caring for a pet, the nurturer, that the way it has given me courage, like I can face anything in this world to protect my child. I've become a courageous, fiercely courageous woman, and I feel that सारे जो मेरे ifs and buts है ना, वो सब पीछे चले जाते हैं when I am like there and I feel I'm in a place of responsibility that this little being, whether it's a puppy or a kitten or a baby or anybody that you're nurturing and mothering, is relying on me to take care of that, that thing. It makes you fearless. तो मुझे मेरी सारी learnings, the biggest institute in my life has been motherhood. And मैं कभी सोचती हूँ कि I wish I can someday, सलमा ने यूनिवर्सिटी बना ली है, सलमा मेरा ख्वाब है कि मैं एक ऐसी यूनिवर्सिटी बनाऊँ कि जिसका नाम हो माँ यूनिवर्सिटी, और उसमें जो एक साल का कोर्स हो, बेशक एक साल का कोर्स हो, जो तैयार कर रहा हो यूनिवर्सिटी जाने के लिए, इट शुड बी अ मैंडेटरी कोर्स वेयर ऑल लर्निंग्स आर पिक्ड अप फ्रॉम this state. Motherhood is not an adjective of a woman, it's a state. जहाँ ऑक्सीटोसिन जो है आपका इतना रिलीज हुआ होता है, it can be a man, it can be a woman, it can be a transgender, anybody can have motherhood. Takes you to another height of leadership. Need to I really want to like make us a curriculum out of it, but I don't know. Let's see, maybe Salma does it. Salma को मैंने
मुझे
शेयर कर
No,
दिया, अब
I,
Salma
I
आप start
करना है।
no, I really, Sabina, I think I don't want to gender this topic too much, because when we talk about motherhood, we're excluding the gentleman from it. But I really think that there's a lot of गहराई जो आपने बात की है ना, because I think this is, again, I don't want to gender it too much, but I think there
No, it's
are
not.
some different. So
It's
what I'm
not
trying to
gender
say is,
based.
when it's so fair enough. You can definitely see. I think maybe parenting, nurturing are the aspects that you're going for. But मैं आपकी बात से 100% agree कर रही हूँ. I'm not trying to draw an argument. What I'm actually trying to say is कि ये, I think, is the key difference in many ways between, I don't know how to say this without being gendered, but I was having this conversation with a colleague earlier about how female leaders are different from male leaders, right? And so, और उसी गुफ्तगू में ये सारी बातें निकली about that nurturing role and that compassion and that empathy. And of course, male leaders have that too. It's not at all to say that they don't embody that, but I think the qualities that you are describing, Sabina, those are absolutely essential. When you when your team is no longer just colleagues and professionals that you work for, you're genuinely invested in protecting them, in nurturing them, in enabling them, in empowering them. It's a real game changer about how that what that organization culture is like, right? जब आपकी एक ownership और एक stake होती है in your people, in your family, there. So yeah, I completely second what you're saying, and I think because I am also a mother, so I think there are definitely a lot of parallels to be drawn. I think some of that
No,
instinct
I
that
just want
comes
to
from, please,
would like to
please.
just add one thing here, that what gender do we use for God? We use the he,
He.
and God says, "I'm like a mother." So
Yes,
it's in
true.
itself.
It's
It's
not.
not about that. जो ऑक्सीटोसिन है वो मेल में भी रिलीज होता है और फीमेल में भी
Yes, I
रिलीज होता है और ट्रांस में भी रिलीज होता है. It's when you feel
yeah,
love, empathy, compassion, and responsibility together. It's when the oxytocin starts releasing. I
yeah.
mean, like it's irrelevant here maybe, but I would still suggest, so many viewers are watching us. Everybody should watch the documentary Babies on Netflix. It's a documentary to watch how men release oxytocin when they are in that position where they feel that, I'm the nurturer. So it makes you
You
really
know,
courageous, because courage is
you
a
know,
big prerequisite for leadership.
no, Sabina, आपकी बातों से मुझे फिर ये भी ज़हन में आ रहा है ना, and I'd love to hear Bilal's view on this, being the man on the panel. But there are, even if you and I are very correct and gender neutral in what we're advocating for, generally we do attribute certain qualities to be more feminine, and men will deliberately not espouse them because they don't want to be viewed as a weaker leader by embodying those things. And I think some of the strands that you and I are talking about may fall in that category, right? Where empathy is seen as, oh, like a strong leader is not that, like these are a lot of stereotypes, right? And I wonder, and I think they're very counterintuitive to what leadership is. But khair, I'm musing. I'd love to hear what Bilal has to say on this aspect, if of course he wants to say something.
साइमन सिनेक ने ना एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग एक्सपेरिमेंट कंडक्ट किया था क्वाइट क्वाइट अ लॉन्ग टाइम अगो के आई थिंक ही विटनेस्ड अ ट्रूप ऑफ आर्मी सोल्जर्स जो कि जिनके खेमे में आग लग गई थी और उनका कोई एक कमांडर इन चीफ या समबडी हु वाज अ बिग शॉट आई कांट रिमेंबर द पोजीशन किसी हेलीकॉप्टर में आए उनको रेस्क्यू करने के लिए और वो जहाँ जहाँ पे आग लगी हुई थी एक एक को पकड़ पकड़ के उन्होंने बहुत मुश्किलों से निकाला तो what he did is then he felt कि भाई this is really big of the of almost a sacrifice risking your life for your colleague or for your friend and just he's just the colleague nobody else तो उसने उसके बाद ये एक्सपेरिमेंट के लिए कह रहे हैं कि किया दैट वाज ऑलमोस्ट ही वाज व्हाइल ही वाज राइटिंग द बुक ऑन लीडरशिप कि उसने 10 ऐसे डिफरेंट लोग जिन्होंने अपने किसी कलीग की हाल ही में जान बचाई थी उनको इंटरव्यू किया होता आपने क्यों किया इनको क्यों आपने इन लोगों की जान बचाई व्हाट वाज द रीजन ना क्योंकि अगर ऐसी ही कोई सिचुएशन होती he would have done the same thing for me and these are the moments where you need to give the credit to the leader who is building this work environment आपको पता है बहुत सारे अच्छे कंट्रीज की आर्मी में उनके कलीग्स को वो लोग ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स कहते हैं and at the end of the day the leadership all comes down to love and compassion if the leader has somehow able to build an environment that is based on love and human compassion, where everybody considers brothers and sisters with each other to himself and herself. That is really the world that can that can do something big and something out of their domain and something out of their जैसे जो जो के अपने अपनी कैपेसिटी से और अपने सिंक्रोनाइजेशन के बाद मिलके कुछ बड़ा कर सकते हैं ना so there is no doubt in my mind that leadership really all comes down to the care and love and more you practice love, more you practice caring somebody, more you practice uh, compassion, the better you can demonstrate it. There is just no doubt in my mind about this. Agar imagine somebody who never had an experience or never had an opportunity to demonstrate love and compassion for humanity at all. Do we really think कि वो अच्छा leader हो सकता है? We doubt this. That said, one of the beginning steps somebody should take if he or she wants to be a leader is just be careful about be caring about every single person who he or she is surrounded by and जैसे शावर करना शुरू कर दें उन पे उस कंपैशन और उस मोहब्बत के लिए उस मोहब्बत का that can build a very strong bond with them and then they can achieve anything they want to achieve no doubt in my mind anyone who is practicing or anyone who has practiced compassion and love can certainly be a better leader and if you now want to take it to a gender level that's something you're welcome to
I have a question here now. See, we've been talking about, leader being a mother as in state, not as in, completely, being a mother in a gender phase, but yes, mother as in state. And then we're talking about love, empathy, compassion. On the other side, when we hear people talking about being in a professional life, they always say that, keep your personal feeling aside once you get into the profession. So, is this what really distinguishes leadership in education, or it should be a general perception for of leadership across all sectors?
Saima, love has to become a habit. Simple as that.
and I
But
will be
don't
When
you
it,
think
बहुत
that
बड़ा
when we
लगेगा
start loving people too much, then we start compromising on, what we're doing
we,
at
we
times?
have, I think, misunderstood love also. Love doesn't mean flaunting yourself or drooling over somebody. That's not love. Love is when you are ready to forgive somebody's mistakes. Love is when you are ready to go into their shoes and understand what they're feeling. Love is to be silent when somebody's talking to you. Love is to respect the other person's feelings even though you don't understand them. You don't understand them, but you respect it. Love is not to be judgmental. These are the things we need to practice, and practicing these things actually makes you a master at it. And the first practice for a little child starts when the mother is role modeling. Mother, father, big brother, older brother, whoever is in the primary caregiver condition is the one who's actually role modeling all these. मैं यहाँ पे एक छोटी सी एक वाक्य सुनाऊंगी आपको अगर टाइम हो आपके पास. मैं अल्लामा इकबाल की लाइफ हिस्ट्री पढ़ी थी और मैंने ये वाली कहानी अल्लामा इकबाल की किसी लाइफ हिस्ट्री में नहीं पढ़ी है, एंड इट स्टक टू मी, इट क्लिंग्स टू मी दिस थिंग, कि उनकी जो वालदा थी, अल्लामा इकबाल के जो वालिद थे वो अंग्रेज़ों के लिए काम करते थे और बहुत ही लो लेवल पे उनका कोई जॉब थी, तो वो टिप्स दिया करते थे उनको, आखिर में हाथ में कोई पैसे दे दिया करते थे, तो वो टिप्स लाते थे घर पे और उनकी वालदा उनके वालिद से कहती थी कि ये पैसे हराम हैं, क्योंकि ये आपने काम नहीं किया है और काम के बगैर आपको मिल रहे हैं। तो वो कहते थे नहीं, कुछ नहीं होता इस तरह। लेकिन यू नो व्हाट द मदर डिड, जब अल्लामा इकबाल पैदा हुए तो उन्होंने सिलाई, घर पे सिलाई का काम शुरू कर दिया, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा कि मैं अपने दूध का एक कतरा भी अल्लामा इकबाल को नहीं पिलाऊँगी, क्योंकि कहीं उस पैसे से मैं खाती हूँ और मेरे खाने से ये दूध बनता है। I mean, when a mother at that level can think, then Allama Iqbal is produced, you know. वो उनके एक्शंस, हमारे चॉइसेस जो है ना, वो रिपल्स क्रिएट करते हैं हमारे बच्चों के लिए। हम ये समझ रहे होते हैं ये मैं अपने लिए चॉइस ले रही हूँ, इवन समथिंग एज स्मॉल एज अ हेयर कट, आई एम मेकिंग अ चॉइस, इट हैज़ अ रिपल इफेक्ट ऑन द लिटिल child around me who's watching me all the time. So it's a very, very responsible position of a primary caregiver, and it has to start from the home. Things have to start from the home. The more we're going into 2050, हम इसकी बात करने वाले हैं आगे. The more we're going into 2050, the more we're going external. हमें लग रहा है कि हम घरों में बैठ गए हैं, हम हर चीज़ इंटरनेट से करेंगे, but you know what? Staying inside our rooms, we are only connected to the outside. We're not connected to the person right beside me. So it's, we are going to Mars, we are going to all these, like हम ब्लैक होल में भी चले जाएंगे, लेकिन हमें ये नहीं पता होगा कि मेरे साथ वाले कमरे में जो मेरी माँ है वो मुझे पुकार रही है. It's going to be so distant. This is what I'm looking at in 2050. तो स्टोरी टेलिंग, बच्चे आईपैड पे स्टोरीज देख रहे हैं अब, टैबलेट लेके बैठते हैं, उस पर कहानियां पढ़ रहे हैं. यू नो व्हाट दे आर गोइंग टू क्रेव इन 2050? They will crave to sit in Dadi Ma's and Nani Ma's and Mummy's lap to listen to that story. The story is not what they want. They want the feel. They want the arms around them कि वो गोद में लेके मुझे story सुना रही हैं. It's going to become a grandmother is going to become a celebrity in 2050. Is what I'm trying to say. So हम उसको कैसे intact रख सकते हैं? How do we balance that? That's what I'm always worried about. कि वो home, we need to take leadership right inside the homes, and we need to give that importance to the leaders who are already there in the homes. It's both ways. We need to look for the leaders in the homes, and we need to bring out the leaders from the homes, rather than looking for them somewhere outside who's coming with a huge degree from somewhere. That is something else. घर घर को हमने छोड़ दिया ना, तो we will regret it.
Okay, let's connect the first part with the second part, wherein we talk about empathy, love, compassion, and then challenges that we face because of this COVID. What I feel, being in my position, I faced a lot just because being empathizing with people, working with them, and making sure that I'm composed. That was the biggest challenge for me. What about you people?
Yeah, I would like to actually, Saima, I think it is an important question, because there are limits. There are limits to um, how I guess personal you can get, right? But I think all of these qualities of compassion and empathy and all of these, you have to exercise them with some caution, right? So, for example, एक pearl of wisdom है about leadership, which says that you may or may not agree. I have certainly felt that, but leadership is a lonely place, right? Where there आपके काम में दोस्तियां नहीं होनी है, नहीं हो सकती हैं, फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ योर वर्क रिलेशनशिप, ऑफ योर प्रोफेशनल रिलेशनशिप. जब वो आप दोस्तियां बनाते हैं तो आप उस डायनामिक को एक्चुअली खराब करते हैं, विच इज अ बिट काउंटर इंटुइटिव, बट ये मेरे लिए कम अज कम ऐसी चीज है जो मुझे एक बहुत अजीम दोस्त ने शुरू में ही बताई थी. एंड of course, you know, I rejected that, thinking of, you know, I mean, kindness and love and compassion, यही सब तो है, सब कुछ है. और वो करके जब वो रिश्ते काफी आगे गए ना, फिर उनमें बड़ी complications निकली आगे जाके. So I learned that lesson the hard way कि but it's not. They can. This is not a. This is not a contradiction. Keeping yourself a little bit distant does not mean that you do not exercise empathy and compassion and love. The two things are not mutually exclusive. That empathy and compassion and love is being exercised, but it's being exercised within the context of work, right? So if somebody is not able to do their work, you can be empathetic about asking them that what are the circumstances outside the workplace that may be compromising your performance, right? And usme we can create room, right? If there is a new mother and she wants more time with her child, she needs flexibility in her work hours or whatever. An employee with a sick parent and they want to have flexibility, take them to the hospital, whatever the case may be, right? But within the context of work, right? I'm not going to sit down and ask them ke weekend कैसा था, and वो थोड़ी limits जो है ना रखना बहुत अहम होती हैं. So I think, yeah, for me, I feel that distance is very important in keeping that relationship healthy. But I'd love to hear what others say.
Even I feel that you disturb the decorum, and at the same time, somewhere or the other, people start taking you very casually, and then there's one excuse, the other excuse, and the other excuse, and the other excuse. There are certain things that you can delay, but then how much are you going to put it on yourself? Because I end up doing myself, so how much am I going to do myself? And I'm staying overnight, it's okay, I'm ready to do all that, but again, there's a limit to that. So if the leader is not surviving after being empathetic, then how? What?
It's a price that a leader pays, and we've seen this in history happening. Leaders are people who get consumed faster. They are bridges for people. People walk over them. Literally, when I say that you should be alone with yourself every day, half an hour, is when you should draw leadership. And that is what I used to do when I was a kid. Whenever I used to draw leadership, I used to draw myself lying down on two across two mountains. कि मेरे हाथ एक माउंटेन को पकड़ा हुआ है और पाँव ने दूसरे मेरे पास वो ड्राइंग अभी तक पड़ी हुई है. एंड आई यूज टू प्रे टू गॉड कि गॉड पीपल कैन वॉक ओवर मी टू क्रॉस दिस रिवर. ये एक पहाड़ से दूसरे पहाड़ चले जाएं. एक पहाड़ लिटरेसी का पहाड़ है, दूसरा इलिटरेसी का. एक पहाड़ जुल्म का पहाड़ है, एक पहाड़ पीस का. एक पहाड़ औरतों का है, एक मर्दों का. इसको मिक्स करो, ये क्या है? तो अगर मुझे इस्तेमाल करना है, इफ़ यू कैन वॉक ओवर मी एंड आई कैन बिकम द ब्रिज, देन आई एम रेडी टू डू दैट. ये जो हम कंपैशन फटीग जो होती है, हमें कंपैशन फटीग को ही लेना ही तो लीडरशिप है. नेल्सन मंडेला ने क्या किया? इसीलिए तो लीडर्स कम होते हैं ना, लीडर्स ज़्यादा नहीं होते. लेकिन हमें अपनी प्रोफेशनल वर्क में when you take positions, when you're a chairperson, when you're a CEO, when you're a manager, when you're an academic coordinator, you have to define your boundaries. Because otherwise then आपके ethics खराब होते हैं, professional ethics. एक लीडर के तो मतलब लीडर की तो कोई बाउंड्री ही नहीं होती. That is why they are so unique. That is why there are such few leaders. हम हर एक को लीडर नहीं कह सकते. लीडर बहुत कम लोग होते हैं. हाउएवर लीडरशिप की क्वालिटी हम सब में होती है, सिर्फ जानने की ज़रूरत है. हम सब लीडर्स बन सकते हैं, लेकिन हम जान नहीं पाते, इसलिए कि हम उस जगह से डरते हैं. इतनी प्यारी बात सलमान ने अभी कही है ये कि लीडरशिप इज़ अ वेरी लोनली प्लेस, बट इट इज़ अ वेरी हैप्पी प्लेस. अ लोनली हैप्पी प्लेस, जस्ट लाइक गारे हिरा जहाँ नबी जाते थे. It was a lonely, happy place where he used to go every day for 1 hour, 2 hours, I don't know how much, just to be with himself. So I just feel कि leaders unique होते हैं, कम होते हैं दुनिया में. The real leaders are less. We have a lot of speakers, we have a lot of talkers, we have a lot of CEOs, managers who are very, very integral to move this world ahead. They are integral people. However, there are these few leaders who inspire. They're so quiet when they're working. They don't even care who's looking at us, who's like. So I actually miss that place. Literally, I'm telling you, I miss it every day of my life ever since I've come on the map. I wish I could go back in that small street and just vanish somewhere. That's the place, because I was so like content. now it's like always every day I have a problem to face. कि अच्छा अभी पीसीपी की रजिस्ट्रेशन लेनी है, अच्छा उनको अभी फंड यूटिलाइजेशन प्लान भेजना है, and like that was not what I was worried about before. I think from my experience, I'm not saying what others' experience is. I'm not saying what the really, really highly intellectual people have written in books. I can only speak from my experience that I can really differentiate between my two states of mind. And I think the state that I was in before was the leadership stage. And
Okay.
the state I am in today, is managerial state.
Okay, how about if I take suggestions from you people, taking into account my example, wherein I am ready to take work on me. I do take work from my own subordinates if they are not able to complete on time or whatsoever, if they have any reasons for not doing something. And there is a time when I start losing my mind, and there's one day when I burst out on everybody in the world. And then I do feel bad about it, and I do try to cover that up. But yes, that's a day when I'm bursting out on everybody. So is that likely to happen with all of you people? I mean, does it happen to all of you as well, or it's me who's getting abnormal suddenly?
No, no, that's not abnormal. Can I answer that? I'm
Sure.
sorry. Uh, can I ask you a question? How many times do you sit back in a day and deep breathe for 10 minutes?
I have found a digital solution of that too, because technology is my forte. So I have my watch wherein it tells me to breathe for 1 minute after every 2 hours. So yes, I'm doing that.
That's great. That's great. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed that you're doing that. That's such a wonderful thing.
And also added to that, I do yoga 3 times a week.
हाँ, फिर वो योगा 3 times a week तो फिर एक ऑर्गेनाइज चीज हो गई ना.
Structured हो
जस्ट
गई थोड़ी.
स्पेंडिंग स्ट्रक्चर्ड हो गई. वहाँ आपने पैसे दिए होंगे, आप वहाँ जाती होंगी, आप नहीं जाएंगी तो अटेंडेंस होगी, फिर आपके बडीज पूछेंगे आप क्यों नहीं आई. It's all this is all
It's
organized
virtual. It's
classroom
virtual.
thing, right? It's
Yeah.
virtual. तो वहाँ पे भी attendance तो होती होगी ना. तो something that you're only doing for yourself. मैं कभी कभी सोचती हूँ कि वो हम क्या करते हैं. I think it's the only time that we spend in the bathrooms, taking a shower is the time that we give to ourselves. लेकिन उसमें भी हमारे जहन में यही चल रहा होता है, जल्दी जल्दी, that person is waiting and that person is waiting and I need to leave the house. So I think the more you practice deep breathing, जो आपने रखा है अपने लिए, सिर्फ अपने लिए, उसमें आप किसी को शामिल भी नहीं कीजिएगा कि चलो हम मिल के डीप ब्रीदिंग करते हैं. Keep it for yourself. It's something very secret and private for you. If you keep practicing it, because it doesn't happen overnight, you have to keep practicing it. आपका degree of compassion fatigue जो आपको हो रहा है ना, वो कम हो जाएगा. You will know how to make the boundaries. आपको boundaries समझ आएंगी. और boundaries जब हम बनाते हैं तो बिल्कुल ऐसा नहीं लगता कि आपके पास लव नहीं है. You will still be in the state of loving people, empathy, सब होगा. लेकिन पहले मेरी सेल्फ केयर. मैं ठीक हूँ यहाँ तो मैं किसी और को कुछ दे सकूंगी. मेरे दिल में जगह ही नहीं है किसी और के लिए. मेरा दिल पूरा का पूरा भरा हुआ है दुख से, उदासी से. खुश रहना बहुत जरूरी है ना. So ask yourself, whatever you're doing all day, do you love everything that you do? Are you enjoying everything that you do? Chalo, that's great.
Yes,
That's great.
yes.
That's wonderful. And congratulate yourself. You're in a good place.
I do
I
enjoy whatever I do. Yes, Salman.
I would like to add one thing here. I think sometimes you do end up with a lot of things. I won't even say something. You end up with a lot of things that they're mundane, they're taxing, they're draining, and they have to be done. They have to be done to further the organizational goals, and they take their toll on you. So I will say this much: okay, I think more often than not, leadership does involve a lot of sacrifice. It's sacrifice in the sense that, and again, आप लोगों का तजुर्बा शायद different हो, but मेरे काम पे अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि ये तो बर्नआउट की रेसिपी है और फैमिली कह रही हूँ, सॉरी, वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस होना चाहिए और हो जाएगा काम, क्यों इसका अभी फौरन क्यों करना है, और इस तरह के काफ़ी वो कमेंट्स आते हैं. बट फिर मैं अपने आप से सोचती हूँ कि शायद मैं गलत सोचती हूँ, बट आई थिंक कि मैं ये नहीं कर रही हूँ तो आप जाके ये सब कर पा रहे हैं. इन अदर वर्ड्स, आई थिंक leader is essentially a beast of burden. There are some people who have to carry more burden so that it does not fall on others. कोई वो उठाएगा ही तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बनेंगी, खड़ी होंगी, इंस्टीट्यूशंस खड़ी होंगी, जिंदगियां बदलेंगी, चेंज आएगा. तो I think to Sabina's point, I think there's a lot. Leaders are few because it's a role of great sacrifice, and it's a role of carrying a lot of burden. And if you're not made of that that metal and that strength, na, burnout and cracks, these happen very quickly. So I think you have to fundamentally be a very strong person. You have to have a thick skin. But Simon, what you experienced is very human. Just this past weekend, I was there. काम पे कभी नहीं देखने देती. काम वाले कभी भी नहीं ये देखेंगे, but ये निकलता है कहीं ना किसी पे निकलता है. So this is very human. This is very common. We are after all human. You may have a higher threshold for stress and for work and all of this relative to others, but everybody has their cracking point. So I think that is normal, and you don't always get to do fun things with your work and your career, and a lot of it is unglamorous. And I always say this, sometimes I feel like my work is just about giving a war reference. It's like being in the bunkers. You're down there. You don't even have line of sight of the enemy. Like sometimes it's just about hunkering down for days on end and just working on something really mundane, but you have to get it done. And it's that dedication. And I always say this, but it's discipline. It's really just discipline. कि लग के करते रहना जब तक खत्म नहीं हो जाए. वो टोल अपना लेता है, but consume होते हैं आप, but किसी ने
एक
करना है, right?
एंजाइटी होना शुरू हो जाती है कि ये काम पड़ा हुआ है, ये कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है, ये होना है, कोई नहीं कर रहा, मैं खुद कर लेती हूँ. एंड very recently I busted out on my people. They know, they have now known me so well कि वो उनको पता होता है कि अब ये इनका जो है वो मीटर आउट हो चुका है, तो ये she'll do anything. तो वो चुपचाप सुनते रहेंगे. द वेरी सेकेंड मोमेंट जब मुझे मैं आई काम डाउन, तो मैं उनको कॉम्पनसेट भी कर दूंगी वन वे और दी अदर. आई मेक श्योर दैट दे आर नॉट वेरी अपसेट. बट येस, इट डज हैपन एंड दे नाउ रियलाइज एंड दे डू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई फील. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि वो बहुत दे आर यूज्ड टू इट बाय नाउ कि भाई बहुत दिन हो गए, कुछ नहीं हुआ था, तो अब तो होना था. And then things would streamline for some time again, and then again there'll be a short break wherein I'll do something. Bilal, any take on this one? We've been silent for some time now.
नहीं, वो अभी हम थोड़ी देर पहले यही बात कर रहे थे ना कि इन मिलिट्री ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ कंट्रीज पीपल कॉल इट के यू हैव टू कॉल देम सिस्टर्स एंड ब्रदर्स. And that's really what it's all about. कि वो कहते हैं कि sisters and brothers, there will be fights, there will be problems, but at the end of the day the leader has to make sure that we are all together, we are all taken very good care of. But I also want to be very clear here. I wouldn't be able to tap on any leader's back and say it's okay to get angry, it's okay to transfer all of your stress to your subordinates. I would rather say कि I understand you are a human, but that's not something you should embrace in the organization. That's not something you should clap on when any of your subordinates is getting at. Or just keep few things in mind. मैंने actually पढ़ा था. It's again not something I'm saying, so just being transparent. So people don't hate working hard. People love working hard. But what just they don't like is when they don't have a meaning to it. जब उन्हें खुद पसंद नहीं होता वो काम, जब उन्हें ये नज़र नहीं आ रहा होता कि what change they are bringing. It's a leader's responsibility to make sure they have everything so that they're loving as much as possible. By the way, you will never love everything you will do. There will still be some pieces जो आपको बहुत बुरे लगेंगे और आपको करने पड़ेंगे. लेकिन लीडर की एक responsibility है कि he should make sure that their employees and their subordinates and the people around them are getting everything they need to keep them happy and keep them healthy and emotionally healthy. Because if your employees and people around you are not happy, I'll be very honest, वो गुस्सा है, वो परेशान है, वो घर जाएंगे. They'll go home, they'll take all the stresses with them. उनके घर वाले, उनकी बीवियाँ से, husbands या बेटे, वो परेशान होंगे. It would be an added stress. Next day they'll come back. There will be worse employees. Your mission is not going. It is all going to collapse. So बेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज़ द वन जहाँ पे लीडर्स अपनी इमोशनल हेल्थ फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल और अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ की इमोशनल हेल्थ का बहुत अच्छा ख्याल रख सकते हैं. एंड इट्स नॉट ऑलवेज अबाउट आपको पता है ना कि वो जो फोर प्रॉफिट्स हैं, दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ मल्टी ट्रिलियन डॉलर कैपिटल मार्केट. They can always incentivize people, they can always give them gifts, but I think good leaders can always manage things, making sure कि you are taken good care of. मैं हूँ आपके साथ कभी भी कुछ हो, I'm with you, don't worry. And giving them everything they need in terms of emotional needs, just to make sure कि they're happy, emotionally healthy employees, and they're also emotionally healthy husbands, they're also emotionally healthy uh, wives, and so forth. क्योंकि अगर हम वो बैलेंस नहीं क्रिएट कर सकते ऑनेस्टली, सारे वो लोग जो अंदर से बर्न आउट हो रहे हों, जो हमसे छोटी छोटी बात पे खफा हो जाते हो, हमसे या गुस्से से या वन ऑफ दोज थिंग्स frequently, these are not going to be the people who will help you directly in accomplishing your mission. So as a leader, it's a very important responsibility that you are ensuring that everyone around you is emotionally, his or her emotional health is taken very well care of, and that's part of your responsibility. And by the way, it's never going to happen until your emotional health is taken well care of. So you might want to do things that make you emotionally happy. That helps you releasing the stress. That doesn't have to be releasing the stress on somebody, but in any way, making sure that you're not overburdenizing yourself. Because I think अभी यही बात हो रही थी कि there are no boundaries of a leadership roles. कहीं कोई boundary नहीं है, तो sometimes you have to do everything. झाड़ू लगाने से लेके and sitting on the biggest chair of the organization. There are no limits, and that इतने सारे work stress और unbounded work के बाद you are at the most risk of getting stressed out. सबसे ज़्यादा रिस्क आप ही पे है कि आप overburdenize हो जाएं, परेशान हो जाएं और उस बेचारे रिस्क को अपने किसी ऐसे एम्प्लॉई पे निकालें. आपको पता है जैसे स्ट्रेस ना एक 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 एनर्जी की तरह होता है कि इट इज़ गोइंग टू बी ट्रांसफरेबल, एक से दूसरे पे ट्रांसफर होगा, दूसरे पे तीसरे पे और फिर बढ़ता जाएगा. So we have to make sure कि जैसे leaders have to make sure that they are absorbing it as much as they can and ensuring while they absorb it they're emotionally healthy. Because if leader is emotionally unhealthy, unhappy, transferring the stress, that stress is always going to be transferred without the organization. Now, having said that, I'm not I'm not pushing back on the idea of कि भाई नहीं हर वक्त मुस्कुराते रहें और कभी गुस्सा नहीं आना चाहिए आपको. All I'm saying is that should not be something we should be clapping on in the organization. All I'm saying is I understand there are moments जहाँ पे there would be some frictions, but आपको पता है ये एक न्यूयॉर्क में एक लड़का है टेक कंपनी का, उसने स्टार्टअप किया है. इट हैज़ बीन ऑलमोस्ट many years now. He is now working towards this idea कि now organizations should move towards uh, एक जो बहन भाइयों में नेवर एंडिंग बॉन्ड होता है ना, towards that sort of relationship कि यार you will never be fired. मरते दम तक, so you are part of the organization, part of the family. He is working towards one of those things. Imagine how profound that's going to be. So I understand things happen. There are little frictions oftentimes, but I think if a healthy, helping, accomplishing organization वो होती है जहाँ पे compassion की जगह ज़्यादा हो और anger और stress की जगह कम हो. So sorry if it's offensive. I really didn't mean that, huh?
Some of the people over here in the audience are raising questions about why there are no uniform laws for teachers protecting their rights. Probably that's what they want to say. So again, I think that varies from organization to organization, person to person, because every organization has its own structure and the hiring and the demands, and based on that, I don't know if it is we talking about leadership in particular. So are the leaders probably ready for all kind of challenges that we are likely to face? Can we categorize them, or can we?
Actually, जिसने ये बात कही है ना, he or she must be a very good leader because he or she is thinking about the people of the organization who don't have the rights to protect them. तो by you asking कि क्या leaders agree हैं, leader ही नहीं आवाज़ उठा.
I shouldn't be highlighting. I shouldn't be highlighting their names because they may face
But
problems later on. Then
the point being,
not
it's a
highlighting.
leader who has raised the question, by the way. And we are not the only leaders of the world.
Yeah, of course. Salma, anything?
आपका सवाल Sama, is it about leaders in the sense that we discussed? Are they able to tackle any problems that may come their way? Is that your question?
It's the my see like Bilal had to mention there are some people who don't enjoy doing something if that doesn't have a meaning to it, right?
Hmm.
Similarly, teachers at different places are working and they feel that they don't have rights. So
Hmm.
probably that's one of the reasons that they are not able to either understand what the leader is making them do, or maybe really the leaders are not into doing something that's sensible. So, are we ready for the 2050 leadership challenges that we are likely to face?
Dekhiye, I think this question also gets at organizational culture, right? Where it's so important for everybody, and this is especially true for non-profits. And of course, Sabina would get that more than anyone else, where everybody really needs to be invested in the larger vision of the, what the organization is trying to achieve. And so, which is why also I think that um non-profits have an edge over corporates in this sense because there's really true meaning in what people are doing, right? And so जो लोग अक्सर आते हैं जैसे इदारों में वो थोड़े पागल भी होते हैं in the sense के well paid jobs छोड़ के इस तरफ आते हैं, and so the kick that they're looking for is beyond material, right? So um, so too with teachers. I think they can teachers तो एक teaching तो एक ऐसा पेशा है ना, it's like instant and daily validation, right? You're on the front lines, like you're shaping the next generation. It's such an incredibly rewarding job. But having said that, like uh, even despite that, I think if you're in a institution which uh, is not able to reinforce that kind of क्या कहते हैं satisfaction, अगर वो ये वाले जो winning points हैं about the teaching profession, अगर कोई larger purpose or and this is why your leader is important, right? Because this kind of stems from that leader. A good leader, by the way, can create an incredible organization culture in a company that sells shampoo, right? Like for me, at least, that sounds so demotivating and unglamorous, and I would never give my life to that. But a good leader can even make that inspiring, right? So that point is important, right? The vision should not just exist in the leader's head. It's how do you constantly reinforce that? How do you create meaning for every tier of the organization, right? Whether it's manager or it's like even your service staff, everybody kind of needs to understand that what you are doing somehow, somewhere, that is transforming lives. So I think teaching, maybe I think the same principle would apply.
I would like to add something over here. I have had my journey of being a teacher and I have come to this position. It has been good long, like 15 to 20 years. I started off working in a very, big organization as a teacher. And every day that I would go to school early in the morning, I would cry like a baby that I don't want to go to school, although that I'm in the teaching position. But with the passage of time, I did realize that everything that was happening around over there, it was learning for me, and that learning has stayed with me. And keeping in mind that the challenges that we have today, like Miss Sabina had to mention, children are into technology. They are looking into the stories, watching videos. Now what is exactly happening is they are watching 12 frames in 1 second. 12 frames in 1 second. That means the images are just going way too fast right in front of their eyes. So keeping that thing in mind, and keeping the point that teacher is standing over there with the same face, with the same look, for good 20, 30, 35 minutes, is it easy for the children to bear? Is it really going to take any kind of a learning? Is it more challenging than what we used to be doing in our schools when we were students? So I think there is a lot of experiments that these leaders are doing, and what I believe is that teachers should be ready to take the challenge at the same time, or maybe take the experiment in their classrooms, so that they're able to achieve to some point and take it as in learning. Because again, if there is a leader coming up with some suggestions or some new things or change maybe, and that's not easy to achieve. So I think teachers should be ready for all those kind of challenges. Any take, Miss Sabina? Probably.
Um, I'm totally a big believer and an advocate of school culture. And as Salma said, and the trauma informed school system that we run in Liari, which was formed because of the need that had arisen in Liari. I did not bring a formula from UK and just try to fit it into Liari. It was not like that. This was कि ये लें कैम्ब्रिज सिस्टम बेहतरीन है, इसको इस्तेमाल करें, ये लें फिनिश स्कूल सिस्टम, या ये लें सिन बोर्ड सिस्टम, या कोई भी सिस्टम जो कि बनाया किसी और ने है और इम्प्लीमेंट जो है वो किसी और पे हो रहा है, उनका उसमें कोई से नहीं है उन लोगों का। तो जो सिस्टम लोगों को देखकर बनाया जाता है, जिसमें आई थिंक द फिनिश स्कूल सिस्टम इज़ द बेस्ट, बिकॉज़ वो अपने लोगों को देखकर उन्होंने उसको बनाया है। दे हैव टेकन द फीडबैक फ्रॉम द पीपल so many times, and the most feedback that they took was from the mothers in the homes. Again, the Finnish school system. ये पता होगा, सलमा तो एक्सपर्ट हैं इसमें। ये कल्चर जो है, चाहे वो एक घर का हो, चाहे वो एक स्कूल का हो, चाहे वो एक नेशन का हो, कल्चर इज एवरीथिंग। और कल्चर डेवलप होता है बाय एटीट्यूड्स। ये डेवलप डिग्रीज से नहीं होता, सब्जेक्ट से नहीं होता। अगर एटीट्यूड लोगों के ठीक ना हो, तो आप बेहतरीन से बेहतरीन फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री और सोशल साइंसेस का टीचर ले आएँ, उसका एटीट्यूड अगर सही नहीं है। अब एटीट्यूड क्या है? वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड वेयर डज एन एटीट्यूड फॉर्म। इट फॉर्म्स इन द फर्स्ट 7 years of a child. There we go again, the mommy, the primary caregiver. Attitudes and belief systems are developed in the early 0 to 7 years. उसके बाद सिर्फ उसी पिलर के ऊपर यू आर पुटिंग मोर ब्रिक्स। फिर वोकैबलरी बच्चे की बढ़ती है, नॉलेज बच्चे की बढ़ती है, वो ज़्यादा किताबें पढ़ लेता है, फिर वो किताबों के हवाले दे पाता है, लेकिन उसका बिलीफ सिस्टम 0 से 7 में बन चुका होता है। And that is the time when there is hardly any teacher in that child's life. It's the primary caregivers. Who is educating the primary caregivers? Is there any school for the parents? We have lost the boat. We have a full generation of parents who know nothing about parenting. बच्चों के यहाँ बच्चे पैदा हो रहे हैं, उस पूरी जनरेशन को कौन देख रहा है? क्या कोई स्कूल है जो सिर्फ पेरेंट्स के लिए हो, ताकि ये एक टियर सही होगा तो नीचे का बच्चा बड़ा होके कुछ एम्पैथेटिक ह्यूमन बीइंग बन सकेगा? अनलर्न करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, बल्कि कभी कभार नामुमकिन होता है। और हमारे पास जब तक स्कूल्स में आते हैं, वो बहुत कुछ ऑलरेडी सीख के आ चुके होते हैं। Would you believe that government schools don't have preschools? We do not value ECE, we do not value the primary pre education at all. हमारा जो बजट है, एक तो एजुकेशन के लिए बहुत कम है, और उसमें वो प्री के लिए सबसे कम है, बिकॉज दैट इज द मोस्ट अनइम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग। चलो ठीक है, आप बच्चों को, छोटों को ना पढ़ाएं, मे बी वन डे we become a nation where we don't require preschools because all the mothers know how to do homeschooling. That would be an ideal situation कि कोई बच्चा 7 साल से पहले स्कूल जाए ही नहीं, क्योंकि उसकी होम स्कूलिंग हो रही है। लेकिन हमारी एक पूरी जनरेशन है जिसने ये बोट मिस कर दिया है। इस वक्त तो हमें उन माओं को पकड़ पकड़ के लाना होगा प्री स्कूल में। मैं ये समझती हूँ, मेरा ख्वाब भी है, और मैं इसको बहुत स्ट्रांगली और फियर्सली एडवोकेट करती हूँ। जहाँ मौका मिलता है ये बात करने की कोशिश करती हूँ कि हमारे स्कूल में कोई प्री स्कूल इस्टेब्लिश ही होने की इजाज़त नहीं होनी चाहिए जब तक वहाँ माँ की एजुकेशन बच्चे के साथ मैंडेटरी ना। उसी बहाने से माएँ आएंगी आपके पास, वो अपने बच्चे के दाखिले के लिए आएंगी, और आप उनसे कहेंगे हम तो आपका बच्चा लेंगे ही नहीं जब तक आप पढ़ेंगी नहीं हमारे साथ। और वो मजबूरन पढ़ेगी, और जब लियारी की औरतों ने कर लिया तो बाकी सब भी कर लेंगी। वो तो अपने उनको पानी भी भरना है, उनको कपड़े भी धोने हैं, उनको खाने भी पकाने हैं, दूसरों के घरों के काम भी करने जाने। उन्होंने निकाल लिया ना वक्त। आ रही है ना, 6 दिन बच्चे आ रहे हैं, 4 दिन मदर्स आ रही हैं, 3-3 घंटे, उसके बगैर दाखिला ही नहीं करते। दैट्स अ रोल मॉडल स्कूल दैट दे नीड टू डेवलप. अगर ये पूरी एक टीयर को ठीक करना है, तब जाके नीचे से शायद हमारे बच्चे वैसे बन जाएं कि वो होम स्कूलिंग करेंगे. ये बिलीफ सिस्टम उस उम्र में बनते हैं, एटीट्यूड्स उस उम्र में बनते हैं. इसीलिए हम सब जो व्हेन वी ग्रो अप वी डोंट हैव द राइट एटीट्यूड. अब यही है हमारे पास, यही हमारी नेशन है, यही लोग हैं, इन्हीं में से हमें उठाना है जिन्होंने मिस की है बोट, और हमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनानी है. अब क्या करें? जब हम स्कूल बना रहे थे तो हमें यही लोग मिले ना जिनकी शायद बचपन अच्छा नहीं गुजरा, जिनकी ब्रिंगिंग सही नहीं हुई. तो हमने बना दिया गोल. हमारा यूनिफाइड गोल क्या है? यूनिफाइड गोल ये नहीं है कि हमारे इतने ए ग्रेड्स निकलें. हमारा यूनिफाइड गोल ये हरगिज नहीं है कि हमारे टीचर्स सारे जो हैं हाईली क्वालिफाइड हो. हमारा यूनिफाइड गोल ये है कि स्कूल का कल्चर सेफ एंड हैप्पी हो. बस ये दो चीज़ें, सेफ एंड हैप्पी स्कूल. इसको कैसे अचीव करेंगे? Now to achieve that, the teachers have to be happy with what they're doing. Otherwise, how will we bring in a safe and happy school? जो मुंह बना जो टीचर ही खुश नहीं है टीचर रहने में, वो आगे वही प्रोजेक्ट करेगा ना जो अंदर से फील कर रहा है. वी प्रोजेक्ट आवर फीलिंग्स ऑन आवर चिल्ड्रन. So if we are unhappy, our two students are unhappy. Student, teacher both unhappy, the entire classroom culture is unhappy. Life
Okay,
is a quest of happiness. Sorry.
considering what you said, I just want to establish something probably that may not make sense. Is that if you're saying that a teacher is also a leader, are we in a position like I've seen myself, because there has been a lot that has happened to me when I was a teacher, and my head would not even look into my eyes, and she would like make sure that everybody in the class knew about it, that if the principal is unhappy, she's not going to call out the teacher's name. She's just going to say, teacher, you have done this wrong or whatsoever, and she'll do it right in front of everybody. And I have been a victim. I would not say victim, but I would say that was learning for me, because I would still control myself and not let it happen to my children, because again, the feeling was that something that's happening to me should not be, should not make my students suffer. Should not get into the blame game, saying that my head is doing this, so that's why I'm being, rude to my children. So I usually request this to all the teachers that if something like this is happening, give it a benefit of doubt to your leader for some time, and keep yourself composed, because you need not to take something that's happening to you to the classroom to let them suffer. Actually, that's not a responsibility. Being a teacher, I think we need to feel responsible in that way too. Any take on that?
I think you were coming from a place of empathy. I mean, you're very blessed that you can empathize with your students. However, I feel very sad for that principal. Okay, she had such a huge opportunity to change or to set a culture for so many people to learn, but she lost it. Is at loss. Somebody like that. वो इसीलिए तो कहते हैं कि you should select a good boss rather than selecting a good job. So if we make better choices, हम loudly, जो choice भी हम करें loud करें. If we start making better choices about who we admire loudly, this is the kind of person I admire, तो the culture will change. हम admire भी नहीं करते ना kind लोगों को. हम तो admire ही उसको करते हैं जिसकी personality, हम कहते हैं ना वाह क्या personality है, हम उसको कहते हैं जो बड़ा arrogant हो. तो हम लाउडली एडमायर करें. हम बड़ी सीक्रेटली काइंड लोगों को एडमायर करते हैं, लाउडली नहीं करते. वी नीड टू एडमायर देम एंड वी नीड टू स्पीक अप अगेंस्ट प्रिंसिपल्स लाइक दैट और एनी अदर लीडरशिप रोल में जो था उस स्कूल में उस वक्त. फील पिटी फॉर दैट पर्सन रियली, and so proud of you that even though you took the brunt, you felt empathy for your students. You reversed the cycle. Good girl. So proud of you.
And I mean, the something that you're saying, that one should be very loud on saying whom do you admire. So I have the three people here whom I really admire, and I'm already working with Salma. I've worked with Bilal is definitely a good mentor to me. I've heard a lot about you, Miss Sabina, and I always wanted to talk to you and come to you, and I already spoke to Faika about it as well, that I would like to meet Miss Sabina. So yes, I do say it very loudly over here that I do admire all three of you.
Very grateful for that. Salma, I will say one thing with regard जो आपने incident share किया है. पता है ये teaching और कुछ ऐसे patient और doctor certainly ये इतने high stakes professions है ना, because आपकी एक गलती या एक लापरवाही या आपकी एक गुस्से का moment जो है ना, it can really damage lives. And so, you know, this is why it's particularly sad in our line of work है ना कि हमने teaching को इतना एक वो आसान और उसको इतना lightly लिया हुआ है, right? Because आप really सोचें कि you know आपका तो खैर एक समझ आ सकता है, right? It was a grievance that, you know, we're human after all. It comes out in the wrong places sometimes. But you know, I mean, there are such graver problems in teacher quality, which of course you know about. I'm not going to get into that. But ये एक बहुत important shield है, पता है, अपने बच्चों को कभी भी as much as humanly possible उनको हमेशा जो है ना उनकी learning और उनकी development को कभी भी इस तरह वो punching bag नहीं बनना चाहिए. That's kind of essential. This is why we need to keep a very strong filter on who becomes a teacher, because the attitudinal side जो है ना, this understanding of the immense moral responsibility on a teacher, I'm not sure everybody embodies that. So you know, so you have to be ideally very discriminatory about who you're letting into this workforce. So of course we're far from it, but खैर utopian बात हो रही है.
At this point of time, I think everybody can become a teacher. Even a metric pass student is becoming a teacher. So it's not just about bringing who you are bringing, and then at what age are you bringing in this profession, because they may not have that kind of a tolerance wherein you need to sit in the classroom. Maybe there'll be a lot of things. There are always a lot of things happening in the classroom. So you need to be ready, and every time that you face something, there's more tolerance built in, whether it be in the classroom, or even if something is happening outside the classroom, it just makes you more tolerant. And
जैसे
I think that really works for me in the way wherein I know कि ठीक है बर्दाश्त करना है करो. So
जैसे
it's,
पता
I
है,
think that
regarding your accident, I think I also want to show a little bit of the leadership skill here, and want to say कि ये मेरी गलती है, ये हम सबकी गलती है. We have not taken a broad enough view of our responsibility and made sure that every single uh, individual in the city who is heading a teacher knows how to head the teacher, knows how to supervise the teacher. मुझे कभी कभी लगता है कि ये हम जो खुद को टीचर्स ट्रेनर मानते हैं, we have a responsibility of making sure कि every teacher is well taken care of, and eventually students of the city are well taken care of. But if you really think about it, uh, teacher trainers like myself, yeah, like now like yourself also, we don't have these big goals that we have to make sure every single leader in the country is trained. Every single leader in the country knows how to supervise the teachers. And I'm sorry for this also. Okay, this is we have I have, and people like me, we have not taken a broad enough view. Because who would do it if we don't? हम just the people who have uh, the wisdom have a great responsibility. हर एक तो every Tom, Dick and Harry don't understand this, and you are really not the only person के जिसके साथ, I can almost guarantee you are really not the only person के जिसको एक unhealthy supervision मिला था classroom में जाने से पहले. There are definitely countless teachers जिनको एक unhealthy supervision मिलता है, and we need to be more faster, we need to be more efficient, and make sure that uh, every school leader, every school principal, every teacher supervisor is not letting the classroom get affected by taking well care of their teachers. तो इससे मुझे एक बात वैसे और याद आई कि a good leader should also make sure that they take every moment, realize that they may have made some mistakes, and make sure they don't make those mistakes again. So probably ये वो जो एक वो expedited shipping होती है ना, we as teachers trainers now need to be on our expedited mode कि भाई कबल से कि अगले साल भी क्लासरूम में जाने वाले कुछ टीचर्स इमोशनली एक्सप्लॉइट होकर क्लास में जाएं, और वट एवर यू वांट टू कॉल इट, उससे पहले वी हैव टू ट्रेन देयर सुपरवाइजर्स. वी शुड मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि नॉन प्रॉफिट में जनरली, इवन फॉर प्रॉफिट में भी, वी डोंट हैव अ वेरी गुड डेडलाइन कल्चर ओवरऑल. आपको पता है फॉर प्रॉफिट्स में ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है. आईफोन 12 और 13 विल बी रिलीज बाय द एंड ऑफ 2022. We don't have those cultures in the sector of education. We don't have any of the sector ke 85% of the for-profit school teachers will be trained by 2025. No deadline. 50 साल बाद भी अगर हम इसी प्रॉब्लम को डिस्कस कर रहे हो ना, तो जैसे देर इज नो अकाउंटेबिलिटी ऑन अस. सो जिसको डॉन पर लौटा अपनी बुक में लिखता है ना कि डेडलाइंस एंड कमिटमेंट्स के बगैर हम कोई बड़ी अचीवमेंट कर नहीं सकते. आई थिंक ये कांट रिमेंबर द नेम, शायद बकमंस्टर फॉर, बट आई कांट रिमेंबर द नेम. वो ये कहते हैं ना कि फॉर एनी ग्रेट अचीवमेंट यू नीड टू थिंग्स, अ प्लान एंड नॉट क्वाइट इनफ टाइम. वी डोंट हैव ऐसे गुड डेडलाइंस कि जिनको हम सेट कर सकेंगे. बिफोर दैट वी हैव टू मेक श्योर कि we have trained a specific number of teachers by then, but it's time for us to do that. शायद हमारे हमारी हम में से ही कुछ लीडर्स का, शायद मेरा आपका एक गोल ही होना चाहिए कि लेट्स से बाय 2030 फॉर एग्जांपल we will make sure that 90% of the principals, 90% of the educators are highly trained and know how to uh, keep their employees and teachers emotionally healthy and happy so that the stresses don't go inside the classroom.
In order to make sure that the stress does not go out in the classroom, I think we first ourselves need to understand how do we handle stress. Because for me, I have one formula wherein if I feel a lot stressed on the lot of work that I have, so probably I take off from everything. I do something that I love the most, probably going out shopping, maybe to buy nothing but just go out and spend time with myself. uh, that is something that revives me all over again to do something even much faster, which I would have rather than if I would have stuck to the task, I would might take 4 hours to complete the task. But if I take a break and then come back, it takes me like 15 minutes to complete the task. So this is one of my formula wherein if you like something and if you feel that you are stressed, you have a lot of anxiety, just leave it aside, do something that you like, and then come back to that task. Anything that you would like to suggest?
I am very excited to see one of my student from school commenting. So sweet. He's written, "Please visit our school," and you're from Yar Mohammed. That's a student of my school. Love you, Yar Mohammed. Thank you for saying that. He's a singer. Mashallah. So it was a lovely discussion. बहुत मजा आया. Felt like home. This felt like just we were having a conversation. Yeah. Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Anything that you would like to suggest people as a last comment? We'll close down after that. Anything that you would like to suggest all leaders, all teachers to, because I think this is something that is the highlight wherein we need to control our emotions so that we are focused on our goals. So any last suggestion, one pointer wherein you can, encompass the entire conversation, okay, what should be or could be done?
Um, I would just say that every day, for a moment, when we give that time to ourselves, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, there's one question that we should ask ourselves every day is, how did I contribute to this world? तो वो आंसर अंदर से ही आता है कि आज सारा दिन अपने लिए, अपनी फैमिली के लिए, अपने लिए ही सब कुछ किया. बेशक किया हो, 10 चीज़ें करें, मगर डिड आई कंट्रीब्यूट वन बिट टू द वर्ल्ड? और अगर ना किया हो, रात हो गई है और नहीं किया, तो फिर जाके पौधे को पानी दे आइए. जस्ट डू इट बिफोर यू गो टू स्लीप. तो it's a practice that we teach our children in school कि रोज़ रात को सोने से पहले आपने ये लिखना है. इट्स कॉल्ड माई फर्स्ट टाइम डायरी. दे राइट इन अ डिफरेंट वे. ज़ाहिर है बच्चों को हम और तरीके से ज़रा एक्साइटमेंट के साथ सिखाना पड़ता है. सो डायरी का नाम होता है माई फर्स्ट टाइम डायरी. सो एवरी night they have to write something that they did for the first time, even if it is something very simple. Okay, so this is what I did for the first time. So it just increases their horizons कि कोई चीज़ आज मैंने पहली बार की. So every day then you're doing something new. And the same way when they go into higher grades, they write that how did I contribute today to the world. And if you haven't done it, then just get up and do it in whatever way. एक मच्छर मार दें. वो मच्छर शायद 4 लोगों को काटता, तो जब आपने उस मच्छर को उठा के उस मूजी चीज़ को हटा दिया तो शायद 4 लोग बच. तो समथिंग लाइक दैट, समथिंग सिंपल. तो यही I feel कि that really works. This question really helps you to connect inside.
Salwa.
सबीना, मेरा बेटा एक मच्छर मारने पे भी रोता है, पर वो एक मेटा लेवल पे चला जाता है कि मच्छर की भी तो एक मामा थी, उसके भी तो बच्चे थे। अच्छा जी। I think I'll repeat the themes
Your
of
nurturing.
जी.
That's your nurturing, Salma. That credit goes to you. If he can think to that level, and if he
Hmm.
can think to that level for something that is actually harmful, and he still feels
Yeah.
that इस ecosystem के अंदर उसकी भी एक life है, then hats off
True.
to you. That's
True. ऑफ कोर्स
beautiful.
ये मुश्किल जब बनती है जब घर में छिपकलियां और कॉकरोचेस आती हैं और मेरी जान जाती है, तो फिर देन इट बिकम्स लाइक कॉम्प्लेक्स कि अब क्या करें। सिकंदर जीतेगा या मम्मा जीतेगी। अच्छा जी, so coming to Saima, your question about takeaways, I think I will I think बहुत important चीजें cover हुई हैं आज के discussion में. It's really hard to pick out one because honestly all of them work so synergetically um, to create good leaders. But if I have to pick out one, not because it's more important than the others, but perhaps because itna is pe baat nahi hui, would be grit. I think एक determination आपने towards जो काम होना है वो करना है, and grit especially because you don't always love what you do. जब when you love what you do every day, you don't need grit. Then it's a labor of love anyway. You enjoy it. वो करना ही आसान होता है. But अक्सर बहुत बहुत discouraging, demotivating, mentally exhausting, mentally draining चीजें करनी पड़ती हैं. And I think that उनके through persevere करना ना, लगे रहना, discipline के साथ हर दिन, you do what needs to be done to further your goals. I think that is important. In addition to, of course, all of the other tremendously important things that were discussed, such as empathy, love, compassion, etc.
Bilal.
Anyone who is listening, I just really want to say it out loud. Okay, we have massive problem. We have a very inadequate supply of leaders. बहुत शदीद shortage है अच्छे leaders की के जो social problems को, innovation को pick up करके कुछ achieve कर सकें. We need all of you to to do something big and accomplish something. उसके लिए आपको जो करना पड़े करें. I think I have given many of the examples that we have all these big social massive problems, like cancer and the water scarcity and the pollution and a number of those things. And we badly need people who can develop everything that's needed inside them. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपके अंदर already सब चीज़ें हों, लेकिन वक्त के साथ साथ आप उन सब चीज़ों को अपने अंदर develop करें. And please, make this world a better place to live in. There are millions of people who want leaders like you, whoever is listening, to बस समझ लें कि हमारी आंखें और हमारी आंखें तरस रही हैं किसी ऐसे इंसान के लिए कि वो हमें उन मुश्किलात से निकाल सकें. और कोई एक बड़ा लीडर जो शायद ये टॉक को सुन रहा है निकाल सकता है. कुछ लोग हमारे अंदर से ऐसे हैं जो चीख चीख के आवाज़ें दे रहे हैं कि वी नीड योर हेल्प, वी नीड सम ऑफ द लीडर्स. ओके, हमारे छोटे बच्चे लुकीमिया, जिस वक्त लुकीमिया का पेशेंट है ना, उसको भी कोई ऐसी दवाई बना सके कि वो 6 हफ्ते दवाई खाए और ठीक हो जाए. हम चीख चीख के पुकार रहे हैं एक ऐसे लीडर को कि जो सारे ज़हीन जहनों को एक जगह एक जगह जोड़ सके और कोई लुकीमिया की दवाई निकलवा सके. वी आर badly, desperately in need of some good leaders who can help us accomplish something big. तो अगर आप किसी स्पेसिफिक चीज़ का इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं तो please don't wait, because we can't wait, because all those problems that people who are suffering can't wait. And we हर लम्हे के जो statistics मैंने कोट किए हैं ना, that's a big loss. So please don't wait for anything. Develop within yourself anything you can, because हम चीख चीख के पुकार रहे हैं आप लोगों को. शायद आप इस शोर में कहीं आपको हमारी आवाज़ कान तक पहुंच नहीं पा रही, लेकिन अगर पहुंच जाएगी तो शायद उस बच्चे की जो ल्यूकीमिया में होने वाला मुब्तला, उसकी जान बच सकती है. तो आई बेग यू कि भाई इफ यू आर स्टिल थिंकिंग कि मैं हो सकता है लुकीमिया वाले प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करूं या नहीं, प्लीज कर लें, डोंट थिंक मोर.
With this note, we bring our conversation towards the end. It was immense pleasure to have all three of you on board to have discussed such an important topic about being a leader. As I earlier mentioned, that I really am inspired by what you people have been doing, and I really, you know, wish you people all the good luck that you continue to do what you're doing and the way you're doing it. Let me, bring the entire crux of this conversation together, wherein we've been talking about empathy. We are talking about being composed enough to achieve goals, not getting stressed, gluing everyone together, being a role model to share the excellence, take risk, being a global leader, solving global problems, making small efforts so that problems could be solved, or maybe just for the sake of doing something good, building the culture that prevails and helps productivity in terms of learning in the classroom, taking all stakeholders on board, wherein mothers to be trained at the same time as you are working with your children, but above all, first, taking good care of yourself. I think leadership is very demanding. Of course, it is. But as Ms. Sabina also mentioned, it should it should bring you happiness. It's loneliness at the same time, so, as Ms. Salma mentioned, but yes, it should bring happiness. It should bring happiness, as Sir Bilal said, ke, not just for us, for everybody around us. So on that note, we are wishing all of you who's watching us, please do consider how can you bring about that little change in you, because every one of you is a leader. Thank you so much all of you for being with me, and hope we'll be able to make some difference, and hope I also be able to be one of the leader in a way wherein I can also lead a non-profit organization like all three of you are doing. Brilliant job. Love you all, and thank you so much for being the audience, the right audience, commenting throughout, motivating us, and making sure that we don't get tired. But it's been long time, so we are going to take off from all of you, and all the best. Bye bye, all three of you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sabilal.
you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Okay. Tough is.